14. And we've had several placements, different placements that stayed a short amount of time. I think the longest placement before our girls was about a year. And so we've had kids come and go, maybe about, we have met 4 different kids, but some of the times they come back to us. So the last 2 placements ended up coming back to us. And so maybe 5 different cases for us. And then in 2017, we took in our 3 girls now, and we finalized our adoption a year later in 2018. So here, I'm gonna turn my video off so you can see their cute little pictures. Look at that cute picture. That's also taken by the lovely people that made my video. So again, shout out. If you need something, let me know. And actually, my husband and I got an email this week saying that we're almost going to get decertified if we don't renew. So after some chatting with Alyssa and my husband, we decided to get recertified so that we don't. So maybe after this COVID nonsense, we can take some more kids in. Alyssa, you want to share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so for me, we got certified in 2018, the end of 2018. It took us about 9 months. We did. I think if you're really gung-ho about it, you can knock it out, honestly, in about 4 to 6 months. There was some training involved, CPR certification and first aid certification. You have to child-proof your house to the T, and a couple of interviews, and we were certified. So after that, we got calls. We had an age range that we were open to from about 0 to 6 years old, any ethnicity. We had said we were also open to different types of trauma. You can kind of create like a portfolio of what you are able to care for the child. And so we had a few calls here and there, about maybe like once every few weeks, but then they would place the child with different families. And so we had gotten the call for baby Jay. He was 1 month old. And I just called Jose and I was just saying, hey, there's a baby. He's 1 month old. What do you say? He said yes. I told the social worker yes. And literally he was dropped off at our house like that afternoon. So we had to make a commitment, and we knew going into it that he was what's called high risk, which means he's likely to be reunified with his birth family. And so we really don't know too many circumstances when we say yes. We're kind of answering blindly. And so when he came, we understand that we're caring for him, whether it's 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, that he likely is going to be reunified with his parent, which is the goal of foster care. It's not to extend our family necessarily, but it's to be the bridge and to help them to reunify with their birth parents. And so, yeah, and we've just been walking and caring for him since he was 1 month old. But at this point in the journey, it does look like, well, I'll just say this. We're going to a hearing that it looks like we could be heading towards adoption. And so that's kind of where I am now. We want to foster again. The reason why we're not doing more right now is because his case has like a lot of parental visits. And so it would just be too much for the schedule right now, but we would like to keep fostering in the future. So my husband and I are on the same page with that. Although one of us is always more scared, depending on the day, of taking the risk, but in the end, we want to do it again because there's so many kids who need a home. So that's my little intro.
I think Alyssa kind of briefly mentioned it. And so foster care, the main goal of foster care is to have these kids reunified with their bio family. Biological meaning it could be like a third cousin biological, or it can be bio mom and dad. So going into it, you have to assume that they will be reunified. Alyssa's case is a little different, where the first case she got is leading to adoption. That's very rare to have an infant. And it just, you just really don't know when you take the call either. So when you go into foster care, you have to be just knowing that it's not going to be, okay, I'm going to just adopt a kid and it's going to be forever. And Alyssa knows firsthand, and even after the adoption for us too, when you agree to foster or eventually foster adopt, you're pretty much blending two families together. So even though our adoption has been finalized, they, still have a biological family that you have to be willing to keep in contact with or openly talk about. And every holidays too, it's kind of like a step family, right? You just kind of marry the two families together. So you have to be willing to consider that as well. It's not like this cut dry, like, okay, I got kids and now, we're just moving on with our life. So that's a little bit about foster care. And we're going to use like a few acronyms because Alyssa and I we know these acronyms and we use it often. So if you need to stop us, like, what does that mean? Feel free to unmute and just ask us. But in California, I'm just going to start with the basics because there's like a huge range right now. So in California, we have something called DCFS. Other states call it CPS. It was Child Protective Services, but because California really is pushing for reunification, they change it to just Department of Family and Social Services. So it's trying to get, help for the entire family. And so if you hear DCFS, that means just the county that are taking these kids into foster care. So if you're a mandated reporter, you know that you have to call these reports in, and then a social worker goes out and like, hey, we got a call about neglect or abuse. And then the social worker makes that final call. If, okay, we need to detain. And in California, it's really rare for a child to be detained. So it needs to be pretty severe for a kid to enter into care. So when that happens, the social worker will then take the kids. So for our kids that we've had before, they were taken straight from school with only the backpack on their back. So they wouldn't even get a chance to pack up their things or say bye to their parents. We've had kids that were pulled right from a drug bust. And so, there's kids screaming, there's cops everywhere, and then they're pulled and then put in the car. Also, our girls too, just like different situations, and the social worker makes that final call. And then that's when they take the kids to the office and they'll go down the list of the foster care agencies and then say, do you have a family that will take a 3-year-old or a 7-year-old or an 8-year-old? So that's what usually happens when you get that first placement. And so that's why Alyssa would get that call. And, Alyssa and I both work full time, and so do our husbands. And so we would usually be at work and like, hey, you're coming in 3 hours with the 4-year-old. Are you ready? Yes or no? And then you can just make that decision right then and there.
Yeah.
That's a lot of information in one little reel, but I think, let me just go down the list of questions. And then if I'm talking too fast, just unmute and tell me to slow down.
I can go first with my questions, Linda.
Yeah.
So one of the questions I received was, did you work with an agency? So I did. The agency helps us. We work with an agency called Koinonia. The agency helps a lot with kind of keeping you on track with a lot of the paperwork that you have to turn in, keeping you up to date, keeping your house child-proof up to date too. So they're constantly coming into your home a couple times a month just to check on you, check on the kid, and making sure you're up to date with your car registration, your license, your insurances. So there's a lot of paperwork that's involved, and just making sure the kid is safe as well. So they also work directly with DCFS to provide them whatever paperwork they need. So it's helpful. So we don't have to do so much paperwork on our end. You still do, but not as much as if you were to work directly with the county. And so we loved working with an agency because they kind of fill in that gap. And then also they help me with visits. I had a lot of visits with bio parents assigned to me with my kid. They were separate visits multiple times a week. And so because we work full time, we weren't able to do half of them. And so we do the weekend ones. And so the agency helps us with our visits, which are awesome.
And to interject really quick, the agency will provide you with one social worker, and the goal is that social worker stays with you however many placements you get. And so even though we had 5 placements come and go, we always stuck with the same social worker. And so she knew us really well, that she was the middleman between us and the bio family, because it's not always rainbows and sunshine. And so if you need a middleman, that person is usually the person that will communicate and kind of be that person to, share information. And also they just know you really well. So if for like us, our social worker just knew our personalities and our age range. So she'd be on the lookout for certain families that she would know would be a good fit for us.
Yeah. Another question I got was, what does the application process look like? So I kind of touched it briefly with mine. So in the beginning, there's an orientation just to kind of introduce you to what you can expect with a placement and the process of it going all the way through, kind of laying out the trainings and the paperwork that there has to be. Then there's a big pile of paperwork. I'm not going to lie, there is a lot of paperwork. However, it's very doable. It's pretty much just like all your life paperwork and just giving it to them. They help you keep track with it. A lot of signing things, questionnaires, personality things. And then there's some training. I think I had 2 8-hour trainings. I knocked it out in 2 days. So they're like all day trainings, one to be parent focused and one child focused. And let me think. And then the house check. So there were a lot of different things we had to change to our house. We had to buy baby gates. We had to buy fire extinguishers. Locks on your cabinets. That's a big one. You have to put away, if you have alcohol, you have to put away in a certain area, lock the medicine and the chemicals in a certain area. So you just kind of had to rearrange some things in your home and get that.
The beauty with agency though, they'll kind of walk you through that and they'll be like, look, you can't leave that here. You need to move that here. We'll come back in a month and check it. And um, the agency was never like, oh, we got you. Like you didn't put your stuff away. They were just making sure that it was there so that if the county were to come and check, that we would be safe.
Yes, and I for sure have left things out, and they just remind me like, oh, hey, Alyssa, like lock this up because we've left like cleaning supplies out or accidentally, or we didn't have certain things in the correct area. So they just remind us like a friendly reminder, and that's it. And then lastly, they do some interviews with you, and you can foster even if you're single. You can foster with a spouse, a partner, and so they just interview you, see what your scope for the child that you're willing to provide care for. We did like maybe like 3 or 4 interviews before we were able to start getting calls for placements, and so that's pretty much the application process. But it's really how gun ho you'll be on the paperwork. Oh, I forgot CPR and first aid training. So you have to do that every 2 years, and so um, we just hired a guy to come over and we've done it twice now, so we were able to knock that out as well. So that's what the application process is like. Every year you do have to get recertified, and so when you're certified, every year you have to do about 8 hours of training. And so right now with COVID, there's online training that we've been doing on different things, different parenting techniques, and or coping with your child's trauma, certain biases, working with the birth parents. And so there's a lot of, I mean, different topics out there. So you have to get training done and then make sure everything's up to date throughout the year. And I think that's it for application process. Linda, do you want to take one?
Yeah. Kind of like with the agency then. I know a lot of people um, are interested. I mean, obviously you're here for that, but I don't know where you are on the range of how interested you are. And so if you are single and you think, oh, it's something I can do, but I live with my parents, that's okay. They just have to get fingerprinted and then the kid could live with you in the house with other adults. So at the time I had a placement, my sister's living with me. She just got a life scan and then sent her paperwork to the DMV so she could pick them up sometimes in the car. I know it's crazy that you have to have like certification to have them in your car too, but there's just like, little hoops you have to jump through to do that. And it's not that bad. So if you're thinking, oh, I'm single, I can't, or I live with my parents, I can't, there's ways to do it. You just have to allow them to, do the fingerprinting process. And just so like after COVID kind of is controlled and kids are back in school, the number of kids that are going to enter the system is going to be huge. I think the statistic was 70%. I could be making that up. I don't know. It was pretty high. Higher than 50% of calls being made to DCFS was from a teacher. And so teachers usually are the ones reporting it because legally we have to. And I'm also a teacher too. So legally we have to report it. And also they just, there's counselors they would see. There's like coaches they would see that they're not seeing right now. So if you're interested, and kind of feeling the pull to do it, I would just get started now because in about a couple months, the calls are going to be coming in like crazy and these kids are not going to be able to be placed. So there have been a lot of cases where kids are just hanging out at the DCFS office, sleeping on cots because there's no homes available. And so, that just breaks my heart that there's no space for them. So just something to keep on your mind. Keep all your receipts because the county does reimburse you. They're trying to take away every barrier for you not to foster. I mean, they will pay you monthly. I mean, obviously we don't do it for the money because it's peanuts, but they will pay you to, it's like a room and board and for food. But if you work through an agency, half the check goes to them. So your agency is kind of like working with you, so they take half the check. And your child will get Medi-Cal until they're 18, even after adoption. And there's like a tax break too. So the county and the state is trying to make everything easy for you so that you just have to, just have a home ready. Someone asked how big your home has to be, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check the chat. And it depends on age and gender. So I know that they changed the rules. It could be up to 3 kids of the same gender in a room. But if they're under the age of 12 or 16 month Alyssa, they could be in the bedroom with you,
I actually
if
thought it
I'm
was
not
up to,
mistaken.
I think it was up to 2 years old. They could be in the same bedroom as you. And then after that, they would need their own bedroom.
Yes.
If you live like
Yeah.
in a
And then the
1
agency can come over and just look at your house. Like our friend of ours who's on with us, they had like a joining door that leads to the bathroom, and they said it connected, so that didn't count as a room. So the agency will come be like, yeah, that's not going to work for you. So, for us, we purposely had to choose a bigger place with bedrooms available for, multiple siblings. Um, so that's one of the many things that we have to figure out. But someone asked, can you foster while working? Yes. Alyssa and John and I both work full time, and it's crazy, but it's doable. So that's why we use an agency, because there's just things I cannot handle and I cannot do. So we kind of count on the agency to help us through. And if you are interested in just adoption, I would say this is probably not the best route for you. There are 2 avenues. There's foster care, which is predominantly just for reunification. And then there's foster to adopt, which is there's kids that are actually, their parents have lost their rights and they're just waiting to be adopted. And those kids are usually what they call quote unquote hard to place kids, which are over the age of 4, which is crazy to me because it's not that old, teens, and large sibling sets. So if you go onto a website called Heart Gallery in Los Angeles, you will see like there's just professionally shot photos of kids that are ready for adoption, and they're usually like sibling sets of like 6 or 3 kids, and there's like usually a teenager, and so usually teenagers are the hardest to place. So if you are looking just to adopt, you have to consider that you will not probably get an infant. You will just have to, come to understand that those are for like the really hard to place kids. So a lot of people are like, oh yeah, America doesn't have any orphanages. They don't. So that's what foster care is. So they've, done studies where they say institutionalized kids just don't do well. So they're trying to find loving homes to put them in. So if that helps you a little bit understand. For us, we did just fostering for the first 3 years. And all of them now have been reunified with their family members. So it was wonderful to see full circle them being reunified. And then our girls, we met them in a folder. So we specifically switched to foster to adopt. And these girls were ready to be adopted. Their parents had lost parental rights and they were living with a family member and they were ready for adoption. And that's why it took just a year for us to go from foster care to adoption. And Alyssa could share a little bit more. Usually, most cases average are about 2 years. So kids could be with you for 2 years and then be moved out of your home. So
Yeah,
you have to
so
consider.
usually the timeline, there's a court date or court hearing every 6 months. So it's kind of like a check-in to see how the birth parent are doing. So if the birth parent are progressing and in their case, whether that's the visits with their child, doing counseling or classes and certain tests. I'm trying to think other things that they would have to do. I mean, those are the things that pop out of my head. But if they're on track and they're following their case plan, then reunification is possible. And so, like she said, it's usually around 2 years they try to reunify, but some are definitely shorter and some are definitely longer. So you really don't know what you're going to get, but our job is to be faithful to care and nurture the child during this time.
Yeah.
And
And when someone asks, how is your relationship with the bio parents? And you are still doing visits, so maybe you can share a little bit about your experience.
yeah, so I've heard different stories, but my experience has been a little bit more of a roller coaster. I had a good relationship with birth mom at first, and then I think when she started to get a little bit more inconsistent, it started to get tougher for us to communicate well. Obviously, it's hard too when she feels I am um, taking her place as mom, and when I'm trying to partner with her, it just becomes tricky for everyone. And so, and obviously be mindful of a lot of the obstacles that can come in the birth moms or birth parents' place. There's mental health issues, there's struggle finding transportation, and just like different like financial issues too. I mean, the list goes on and on. And so we have to be in a place of also being compassionate to them and working with them and just knowing you're on the same team. And so just trying, you need a lot of patience also as a foster mom because you want the best for your child. So yeah, for me, it's just gotten a little bit rougher over the time as things have been less consistent on my side. So now it's just we're cordial. You know, we when we do visits or anything, we just we're friendly, and then we just leave. And so I love her relationship though with baby J. Like when she does see him, and same with dad. When they see him, they're really great with him in person, but sometimes it's just difficult to communicate with them on the side. So um, yeah, that's my relationship with them. But
Someone asked, where do meetings with bio parents usually take place?
oh, well, before COVID, and it also depends on the age. And so, because I had an infant, we would just go to like Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, Starbucks. We've gone kind of everywhere. We went to the mall and to a family room. But because of COVID, when we resumed visits, we started meeting at a park. So we just wear masks now, and he just runs around at the park, and we're just out there for 3 hours, and then getting wiped out by the sun. And just running around with them. So right now it's more public outdoor places to be safe with COVID, but it could be anywhere that's public. They don't know our address, we don't know their address, and so you kind of meet like in the middle. So wherever they are and you are, you kind of meet somewhere in the middle. And usually visits are I handle 3 hours, and so when but if they're getting closer to reunification, the visits become longer. And so if they're going to reunify, they become 1 day visits, overnight visits until they're ready to be reunified with their family.
Yeah, for us too, before we knew that they were going to be reunified, then it would be like weekend visits. So we'd pack for the weekend, and you're going to go live with your mom for a little bit, and then they come back Monday through Friday, and then slowly transition bio parents back to having kids full time. And I think that's just like really important to have other foster families around you. Is there are moments where we get frustrated because you think I'm spending all day raising your kid, you can't meet me, and to be honest, it does come up as topic for Alyssa and I, but then we have to remind ourselves too, like, can you imagine just having your bio kid ripped away from you? Not even bio kids. Like if I think about my girls and having someone take my girls and put them in a new home, I would feel a certain way. So we try to remind each other to show grace to bio family. It's really hard for everybody.
Yeah.
Really, really tough.
I had the question of what are the fees to become foster certified, and so the only fees I had to pay or we had to pay was to get fingerprinted, and to get the missing items from your house. So I had to get like locks. I literally asked Linda like, "Do you have leftover locks for cabinets? Fire extinguishers?" I like got from my dad. So it's just little things here and there. Baby gates I had to
Which, if
buy.
you save the receipts though, when you finalize, they'll say, okay, what receipts you have, you can turn those in for reimbursement up to a certain amount. So
Mhm.
they don't take like an application fee. Our agency did not take an application fee. Foster care is a little different from international private adoption, which you pay for the attorney fees, you pay travel fees. With foster care, they're paying you pretty much. So there's nothing you have to pay out of pocket. So if money is an issue, they're trying to take that obstacle away from you. So
Mhm.
hopefully that doesn't stop you from being a foster parent.
Mhm. Someone asked me, will the social worker be with you along the process? And the answer is yes. They walk with you from the moment you're interested till the kid is reunified, till placement, till the kid is reunified, or adoption or placement otherwise. So they're with you the entire time, so you don't feel
Yeah,
you
and I feel like thank you so much for spending an hour with us, but you're not going to get any training hours for this. So we're not an agency. But what we could do is if you really are interested, we can kind of team you up with the agency we use, and they're quote unquote a faith-based agency. And then if you go to their intro, they'll give you like 2 hours. But sorry, I can't like provide anything. We're not legit. We're just two foster moms. So
Yep. Um, but yeah, so someone asked, how are the birth parents involved with the process? So it depends on the birth parents, and so they can either be involved or they are not involved due to whatever circumstances are themselves. So it's up to them to follow their case plan, do the visits with their kids as the court mandates them, do the counseling, their classes, like certain drug tests or whatever it may be, and show up to the court hearing, do everything they can to reunify. And I mean, that's how involved they are. So the most involved I am with them is seeing them at visits. So I don't really follow them with like their counseling or their classes, but the most I would see them, or the foster parent would see them, is at the visits, and that's often. So that's pretty much weekly if they keep up.
yeah, and for us, even though our adoption was finalized 2 years ago, like I said, when even if you finalize, the bio family is a part of them, so it's a part of our life. We don't see their bio mom and dad, but we do try to keep in contact with their bio aunt. And so, there's more than enough studies that show that kids usually have contact with bio family just as they get older, have a better understanding of self and self-worth. So we try to keep that in place. And like Alyssa said, they don't know our home address and they don't know our phone number. We use like a Google Voice.
Mm-hmm.
But it depends on the families too. I know that with the girls, I feel safe with the aunt, so she knows where I live and she has our phone number. But the other foster families, I wouldn't share it, and you know, it's just safer that way.
And on our end, we want to be open that Baby J he has a bio mom and bio dad. So we try to read him books and give him language to help him understand. He's really really young right now, but as he grows older, we want to make it clear from the very beginning that he has another mom and dad too, and and even if our case turns into adoption, we want to have an email address for him, so when his bio parents are ready to connect with him, that they'll reach out to that email, and then we can hopefully set something up to have some type of harmonious relationship in the future. And so that is clear for us, that it's important for him to know them, and for us to be okay with that and love him in that way.
I feel like some people have joined that are already like knee deep in foster care too. And someone asked any tips for transitioning a foster baby to an extended family. Like, I just want to cry thinking about it. But um, that is the goal in foster care. So you just have to always like be ready for that at any time. And I'm so sorry, but celebrating too. It's a weird thing to feel. But for me, it was always making sure that the kids were okay. So I think this is like a younger baby, but we always took older kids, older meaning above 3. So we'd always make a photo album for them so that they have something to take with them. Um, like pictures of us, pictures of the fun activities we did, and so that they can remember us and they can hold on to. Older meaning our usually age was like 3 to 8, and so they had that. And um, just letting the bio parents know too that you are there, or bio family know that you were there if they need support, because a lot of times they still need the support even after the courts has decided that they can gain their child back. And so giving them that lifeline. But for us, it was just understanding that we are always associated with like this really difficult, dark time in their life. And so for them to reach out and be like, hey, is going to be very unlikely. So for us, for me, I cried a lot, ate a lot of ice cream, watched a lot of reality TV. My church family cried with me. We prayed together. And then I said, I'll never do it again. And I told Johnny, we both were like, we're never doing this again. And then you're fine after like 2 months. And then you see a random sock and then you cry some more. And then you just say yes to the next one. So, you just pray and hope that that one small, moment in their life has changed the trajectory of their life. And you just pray and hope that that's the case. So I just hope that, I have never talked to the younger ones, but the older foster kids have called me and checked up on me. I haven't talked to her, for a while, but I just really still pray for them and still miss them dearly. I still see pictures and tear up, and they'll never get over that. But, for those who are believers and know that, like even your bio kids, you're not guaranteed to keep them here on earth forever either. So, all right, let's see who got another question. And how does practicing religion factor in fostering? For example, if they're older, a different faith, you have to take the service. So they'll kind of share that in the training. You cannot force them to do anything. So even like you can't even take away their phones because that's like, as a teenager, that's their property. So there's different things that as teens, you're not allowed to do or force them to do. And so when they call you, they usually say, okay, this teen is, so-and-so, or this older kid is so-and-so, and they are practicing Muslim. Are you okay with that? Because she'll know like we're Christians. And so you're like, okay, sure, I can handle that. Or you can say, oh, I'm not really comfortable with that. So I hope that answers your question. If they do have a different faith and they would like to attend and they ask you, like, would you be comfortable, driving them to their church or their synagogue? And if you don't say yes, then that's not a good placement for you. So does that answer your question? I hope so. Lisa. And then the France Spark, I'm assuming you received trauma-informed training. Did you feel it equipped you well? Oh, that's a really good question. Yes, the agency tries to give you those 16 hours, and I felt like they were great, but they were not enough. And it's kind of like, you don't really know until you're thrown into it. And so over the years, from just researching on my own and reading up on it, I've learned more and dealing with it day to day. So I think back to my first placement, and for my friends who are on, they know how difficult my first placement was. Like I cried every night, and I didn't do things right. I know I did not, because I was not trauma informed as well as I should have been. And so if I could do that again, I would do it all over again with a different outlook. So if you'd like, I can send all the books that I've read and podcasts that I've listened to. And so there's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of stuff. And trauma meaning they're like, oh, wait, they're infants. They experience no trauma. That's not true. So, in utero, they experience a lot of trauma that plays out differently. And, my kids too, they're older, meaning like ages 6 to 10. And we still see the effects of trauma from utero or, under 3. And so, yeah, we can help you through that. And I feel like that's why Alyssa and I hold these Q&As, so we can meet people. And, it's really a lonely thing to deal with by yourself. So if I can help you. Someone asked, we're on the foster adopt path for kids who are 4 to 7 years old and we're open to sibling sets. Is there a possibility for reunification? So if you choose straight foster to adopt, it's a different social worker. So once you get to your agency, you get your training, and you say, I would like to just foster to adopt, then there's like events. I know it sounds terrible. Have you guys seen, what is that movie, Alyssa, that I love about the foster? Instant Family.
Instant Family, yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if you guys seen that movie where they're all at a park and you're like, that's really weird. Yeah, that's real. That really does happen. And it's very strange to me, but it helps families come together. So I guess I can't say that it's strange. And that's actually how we met our girls. It was just the kids weren't there, but there are like profiles and pictures on a wall and in a folder. And that's how you get matched with them. And then a social worker, like you turn in an application, like I would like this set of kids. I know it sounds really bizarre, but so we saw our 3 girls, and when we turned our home study and said we were interested in these 3 girls, and the social worker compiles all these families that want to adopt these girls or boys or sibling set. And then they say, oh, this family looks like a good match for this family. But just so you know, Alyssa knows too, if you just go foster adopt without any foster training, I don't know why they just don't want to match you. So I think they just look into your experience with foster kids, because once you say yes to that, there is like, that is your verbal agreement that you would eventually adopt them. So they don't want kids to be then moved to another home after, like, this is your new mom and dad. So there is still a possibility for unification if you do that. So if the bio parents are like, okay, this is it, I need to change my life and get on board, there is still, it's very slight, but there is a chance. We've heard stories where at the last minute, parents are like, we're getting our life together, or they find like an uncle in Idaho or somebody out there, they will reunify or place them with a family member. So the Heart Gallery is there, and you know,
That's the website you talked about,
yeah,
right, Linda?
yes, and they have different families there, and you can kind of look there. And I think just being certified and letting the agency know, the agency will push back a little bit, and the need is for foster care more than foster child. There's obviously a need for both. There's a lot of kids that are ready to be adopted too, but um, just the sheer numbers of kids being put into foster care, there's a greater need for that. And
Yeah.
then there's resources through that Scott has shared too. So if you need there. Some of you are saying, how can you support foster families if you are not ready to foster adopt right this second, which is probably a majority of you. I'm wearing my sweater so you guys can just read my list of things to do, okay? Right there. If you can't foster or adopt, you can. I'm a huge push for CASA. I know some of you might already know CASA. CASA is run through the county, and they have one in every state. And they kind of just match you with a foster kid, and you're just their mentor. You meet with them once a week, and you can actually speak in court on their behalf, which is amazing. So the kids can gain your trust, and then you can tell them, okay, what do you feel like you want to be adopted by your foster family? How are you feeling, or how are you doing in school? And just having that mentorship has shown huge significant difference in kids in school and behavior. And so you can just, they'll train you too on, trauma. And that also is not like faith-based or anything. It's just, you just sign up. It's called CASA, and they'll train you, and you just have to just commit to meeting with your foster friend for once a week until they are either aged out, adopted, or they end services. So that's something you can look into. I would say if you want to dedicate 1 week of your life, there's something called Royal Family Kids Camp, and it's open to all foster kids. And my girls are like, they just couldn't go this summer because of COVID, but it's started by a pastor out of Orange County, and they just spend a week with the kids, and people take a week off of work, go with them to camp, love these kids, mentor these kids. They throw birthday parties. A lot of foster kids. Oh yeah, look at that. Scott's volunteer with them. And they throw birthday parties. A lot of these kids have never had a birthday party before, and they teach them how to swim and do different activities. And so that's a great organization, and my girls love it. The younger two haven't gone yet, but Mariah brings all these goodies home, so they want to go so bad. Hopefully COVID dies down, they can do that. I think that maybe some of you, like our close friends, might do respite care, which might help us, is for the child to sleep at your house for a certain number of days, you have to be trained. So you would just be respite, which means you'll take a foster kid for maybe like a weekend, 5 days. Alyssa's going on vacation. She needs to send baby to your house, which she needs a vacation. So you just get certified. It's the same training as to being a foster parent. So you'll get the training, but then your home now can be open to short-term care. So it's very nice for foster parents to get a break, or for kids, okay, you're transitioning from this house to this house, we need like 4 days for a kid to stay. You can do that. So if you can't commit to long-term, it's called respite care, and our agency can certify you. Our agency, meaning not ours, but the ones we work with. You can donate to nonprofits, and Alyssa and I can kind of help you navigate. There's a lot of different ones, but say, Alyssa gets a call and she's getting a 9-month-old, but she doesn't have 9-month-old diapers. Well, this nonprofit will then run her over, a set of baby clothes for a 9-month diaper set. And if you know personally a foster family, just let them know that you are willing to be their go person. So a lot of times for me, I would just call my sisters and they would run, or I would send Johnny, because we have a wide range. They would say, okay, 4-year-old girl, we don't have anything. You know, we try to do gender neutral, but you don't have like undergarments, you don't have clothes, and you would need someone to run out and get it all for you that night. And so if you are thinking, I can't foster, but I can support, say, like Alyssa, if she takes another placement, you can just say, oh, I could be your support. And if you need me, call me, I'll pick up whatever. That kind of helps you. Also, they will never pull a kid for like just being a teen, but teens usually end up being the ones that aren't able to care. So shout out my best friend. She volunteers at a place called Generation Her. So maybe you can just mentor a teen and help them through their life as a teen mom. That can be helpful. I think, Alyssa, I think I've covered most.
I can
I
go
think the
next.
most
Oh,
important part would be just making sure that you just know more about trauma. Because say you teach Sunday school class and then you have a foster kid who is now spiraling and you're thinking, oh no, what do I do? You have that background experience dealing with that foster kid, or, um, you know, it doesn't have to be a foster kid. A lot of kids just have trauma in general. So that can help you just being educated yourself.
yeah. And I just wanted to circle back real quick to the birth parent question. I think every situation is different too. I've heard and read really great stories about foster families who have good relationships with the birth families. So I think you could really make it work. You could give gifts for like Mother's Day, Father's Day, certain holidays, do birthday. We tried to do a birthday thing when he turned 1 with them. We went to Chuck E. Cheese, and so I think there are ways to make it work. So I just don't want to make it seem like it's always going to be difficult. But I just want to be clear that I have heard and read stories of really good relationships and them being in the kids' lives even after there's reunification. Um, Someone wrote, I'm open to fostering kids with different ethnicities, but my community is not necessarily multi ethnic. Do you have any thoughts of this? Tips or personal experiences you can
Oh,
share?
personal experience. I'm struggling. This is my mom guilt all the time. My friends are all smiling at me. They know. My kids obviously are not Asian American, and I didn't realize how Korean I am until I got non-Korean kids. So my kids that I have now are ethnically Mexican American, and I've never had an Asian kid placed in my home. I've had an African American boy. I've had an Irish girl, blonde hairs, freckles, like straight up Irish. Mom was from Ireland, like first generation, thick accent. So, you know, they've never looked like me. But with my girls, I've just been studying more, listening to adoptees, and their biggest complaint about being adopted is that they don't feel ethnically tied to their personal ethnicity. And so for me, I want my girls to be tied to their Hispanic. I want them to be strong Latinas, and I don't know how to do that. So I'm learning and I'm trying. Our church is pretty diverse, so I feel comfortable. My group of friends are pretty diverse, so I feel comfortable with that. Um, you know, as a family, we thought we should all learn Spanish together, and so we're looking to, you know, Spanish tutoring. And you know, I would suggest that you could. It's a really big deal. Some people are like, no, it's just a loving home. I understand a loving home is important, but listening to we call transracial adoptees, they really are outspoken about having other people that look like them around them. And so for us, we were so naive, and then we took our first placement, and I realized I'm not equipped to raise a Black African American boy, and I learned the hard way. And so, you know, I took a lot of research and learning on my part while I had the kid, and I said that was really poor judgment on my part. I should have done the research before. Um, and even now, I don't feel equipped. So, you know, there's certain cases where I say I don't think I'm the best family or the best fit, and so, you know, you have to consider, like, I'm not gonna, you know, try to figure out while I have the kids. So I'm just trying to do the research before. You know, like black hair, I didn't know how to do it. I got so much trouble from my Black friends. They're like, you're ruining his hair. His bio mom was upset I was ruining his hair. I just did not know. And so it's a learning curve. But I would say study up, and if you are willing to take another ethnicity, you really have to really do the work. It's not easy. I'm telling you, mom guilt for real. If that helps you
Yeah.
a little bit. But you don't just go make friends of other ethnicities just so the kid feels comfortable. I would just say make sure your life is already has a diverse group. And thankfully, you know, I do have other strong Latinas around my girls. So
Yeah, I would suggest also for their culture, learn their history, um, introduce their foods, music, language, just as much as possible. Immerse them to their ethnicity's culture. One of the questions that we get, I think I get literally the most, is we could never do it. I would get too attached. I can't say bye, and I can't say enough. I mean, how important it is to actually say yes, get attached. Your kid needs that. Your kid needs attachment. They need your love. You're an adult and an adjusted adult who can sacrificially love this kid, and when they're not getting the support they need right now from their bio family, they need your attachment to them to help them grow and nurture appropriately for their age. And so often these young kids have seen things way too appropriate or way too mature for their young age. And so they need you to attach to them. And it hurts like heck when you don't know what's going to happen and you're on the roller coaster, but you take the risk, and it's always, always, always worth it. And you can see the fruit in them when they are growing up and maturing and feeling loved and being happy. And that's the most important thing for them. What would you say, Linda, regarding attachment?
yeah, I feel like if I heard it at one of the trainings, and when they said like, oh, I'm going to become too attached, I'm like, that is the perfect qualification of being a foster parent. You know, you're going to love these kids so hard that you're going to weep when they leave. And so you do it because someone has to do it. And you know, that's like for us Christians, it's the beauty of the gospel, right? You do it because Jesus did it for us. So you know, you cry and you complain about it and you say the system sucks, but these kids do not. So you have to do it for the kids, and you do it because you care for these kids, and you really just pray and hope that because you said yes, you change the trajectory of their life. And so for us, it's always been 3 to 10 kids, like the age range. And I know they will remember us. So I pray to God that, you know, they will remember and think back of their care and like the most scariest moments of their life, that they had, you know, two parents who lovingly supported them. And for those of you guys that are friends and family of us, you know that you get attached as family and friends too. I mean, people wept with us when the kids were removed from our house, because they became attached to them too. You know, it's not only us that get attached, it's your family members. It's your nieces. My nieces were still trying to figure out where did their cousins go one day. You know, the cousins just disappeared. And so you got to remember that you're not the only one getting attached, it's other family members too. And so it's important that you do, because the kids need it. It's worth
You
it in the end.
It is worth it, and it's important for them. Like I just think, I mean, it's not easy. We stay up nights, and we're just so sometimes we're just so nervous. Like, how are we gonna feel? How are we gonna get through this type of pain and heartache that we feel when and if he gets reunited? And we're just like, we just stick through it. Like we've had breakdowns. I mean, Linda's literally seen us fought one time when we're just like, we don't want to do this anymore. Like we literally have him, and we're scared, but. Um, God has helped us a lot to be sacrificial and love unconditionally, and we're gonna be there till the very end. So, and we're crazy enough to say yes again, so we're gonna do it again. So, um, how? Oh, Linda, can you answer this one? What do you think the challenges are after of fostering after having biological kids? I know, like you and I don't have biological kids, but what tips would you give to that?
Yeah, I mean, I would wish I had some bio kids so I can give some advice. I don't have bio kids, but um, the reason I kind of feel like I'm in the same boat, because now my girls are officially my girls. And so for us to like consider taking in other foster kids, I kind of felt the struggle that maybe bio parents feel, like, what about my bio? Are they safe? Are they going to be able to handle the goodbyes and the, you know, random hellos and then the goodbye? And then I would say befriend other foster moms that have bio kids. And if you need, I can link you. I have plenty of people I can send you to. And uh, just make sure that your kids are really aware of what foster care is. And there's different books that you can read to them. And different foster moms have written, and like podcasts I listen to, they always say that in the end, they think that their kids seeing you helping other kids in need is more memorable and more important than them like dealing with the heartbreak of saying goodbye to their brother or sister, you know? So I would get them ready and kind of talk about why you parent those kids differently, because I know that you would parent kids from trauma differently than your bio kids who came from a healthy home. So you kind of have to explain to the bio kids why this, if you spank, like why we don't spank foster kids, or why they can throw the glass across the room and they don't get in trouble, but the other kid did, you know? So kind of understanding like, okay, we're not just saying they're different. We're saying, you know, they have different experiences and the way we parent them is different from the way we parent you. And so I don't know if that helps you a little bit, and kind of explaining to your kids, like, there are families out there that really need our help. Like, they don't have the tools to take care of their own kids. And kind of sharing that to kids at a young age sounds kind of scary, but I think our family and friends kind of, their kids have now understood that there are some families that parents can't take care of their kids. It just kind of opens their eyes to the world out there and turns their kids into much more compassionate people.
Yeah, that's what I was going to add. Compassion, empathy is what I've read a lot with bio kids, and I think that's great. Any other
I
questions?
think
I
we
think
got a lot of the
yeah.
questions. I feel like we just kept chatting and chatting. I'm so sorry.
I know it's just
You
a
guys can unmute. Just us two. I'm so sorry. Go ahead and unmute if you have any other questions, or I just really, we can't gauge where you are on this. Like, are you ready to sign up tomorrow, or are you just like, I'm here just to hear Linda talk? I don't know where you are, but if you have questions, feel free to chime in if you want to chat again, or you can just unmute and ask. Let me make sure I answered all the questions. If you are, oh, I forgot to mention too, if you are Asian American, and some Asian American families are just specifically wanting to take Asian American kids, there's different organizations that place just Asian American kids, and there's a need because they need like people that speak Mandarin, or there's a lot of kids that come in. Recently, I was telling Alyssa, they need Filipino families because there are a lot of Filipino kids being placed, and they want to keep them with people who speak the same language, eat the same food, which I know is very important. There's different organizations that I can send to you. There's one specifically out of K-Town. It's called K-Fam, and they work with the Asian American community, and they place only Asian American kids. So if you want to be certified and just wait and see from them, you can do that too. It's very rare that an Asian kid is placed, but it's not impossible. So, I mean, it's not like very uncommon. So if you speak another language, it's beneficial to just sign up for that. Any other questions? What I will do is, the last time we had a Q&A, some people had some questions that we kind of just like shot out information. I will send an email with like different things, like CASA website, Heart Gallery website, different books that Alyssa and I have read that helped us prepare for foster care, that have inspired us to keep doing it. Different parenting books, trauma books, I'll forward that over, and you guys can just read the heading and see what fits your family. Different social media that we follow. I feel like we are so ingrained in foster care because the people we follow on Instagram or Facebook are all foster moms, foster agencies, foster statistics all day long. So if you want to just keep that on your feed to keep it on your heart and your mind, we'll send you like different, different things. after I'm having a hard day and I see like this mom with like 6 foster kids under the age of 4, I'm like, I'm not going to complain. So I'll send you all that information. Anybody have any questions? As you probably hear my kids screaming in the background.
I think that's it. We made it. Oh.
Oh, Lisa, no, I'm just kidding. After foster care got reunited, do they ever send back, yes, do they end up sending the kids back into the system? So for us, we've actually had 2 of our placements come back, which is really rare, but they have come back to us. And it's not like the county continues to check up on them, but it does happen where they do get put back in, or what we call detained again, and put back in the system. They will call you first to be like, look, you had a kid, last year, would you be willing to take them again? Because then the trauma is less, right? They know you, they know your home. And so, yes, they will do that. So what happens is if they call you and say, oh, we have a kid that needs to meet, we live in like Gardena, Torrance area. And we've got calls like, oh, we're in West Covina and you have to do visits 3 times a week. I work full time. I'm not driving out to West Covina. So I just say no. So you have the freedom to say, no, I can't commit to that, because you have to do the visits occasionally. So you just say no, or they try to stay within the county. So, but for us, our girls are from Orange County, and that was quite a drive, but we just committed to that. But yeah, you have the power to say yes or no. And if you work with a social worker, they'll know. They're not going to try to get you from Lancaster or something like that. Do you keep in contact with old placement? They don't give any advice. And so once they get reunified with their bio family, you only have like the bio parents to talk with. Or for us, our 8-year-old was old enough to remember our phone number. And so she memorized her phone number. We taught it to her in a little jingle. And she would call us every couple of weeks because she had a cell phone, and she would keep me posted, and she would tell me I got straight A's, or I passed my science test, or I like a boy. And even when we had our girls too, we would get calls, and then and then she got put back in the system, and then I haven't heard from her since. So it really depends. She was placed with her bio dad, and the bio dad was really cool about her calling and would just be like, hey, what's up, Linda? Like next to her. So I'm like, okay, if he's okay with it, then I'm fine with it. And so, yeah, we would get calls. None of the bio parents have ever called me back to be like, I miss you, Linda. None of them. So it depends on the kids. I would say that's like another push for older kids. I know older kids, no one wants them. They're the best. They'll call you right back. I think that's it. I mean, you guys are welcome to unmute and ask, and we're gonna hang out. If not, you guys, thank you for coming. You guys, some of you guys are like, you guys have heard this 100 times, and like, you guys are like smiling at me. You guys know our stories. Get off. You don't need to be here. I'm just kidding. Love you guys, Valencia's and Lee's. And like Ross is having like a viewing party over there. I don't even know what's going down over there.
Really though. Dude, we miss y'all. We were just talking about it, about how we miss Linda. Like, dude, I've never heard this.
Oh, well, there's
Daniel,
first.
Jeff, Ryan. I don't know if Christine has, but it was a lot of fun.
So we've been through this since 2014. It's been a long, long, long journey. And so some of you guys who've been with, friends with us for a long time, you've met all our kids and seen me cry and eat hot Cheetos in bed because you just can't deal with life, It's been rough, but God has been gracious. So
Linda was the one who, just like was a super big trailblazer for me, and I just hope it continues to other people because it was just not on our radar. And so she's had 7 kids, guys, and so that's like crazy for me to like think through. Like she's had 7 kids, so I get emotional. I miss like her other 4. So yeah.
Well, we just feel the support and we feel the love, and I think just having friends that do it, like everyone at that Ross house party over there, like they would all weep if baby J was removed from your home, you know? So everyone knows how attached everyone is. And I think after people meet our kids, they realize, oh, wait, these foster kids are so sweet. It's really, really just raising sweet. And you guys know my girls, they're the best. They're the best. And so, you know, there are sweet kids that just need some home loved and like just some
guidance, some parenting.
Yeah.
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 So if you're afraid, we were afraid, and we still are afraid. Like we just, by God's grace, we just power through with community and a lot of research, and you just hustle through the visits. There's so many visits, guys, but it's worth it. So I'm still alive, right? I'm not like, I didn't age 15 years, so I've done it, and I've seen so many people these last few years. So yeah.
Yeah, I love the way Alyssa too just makes sure that not only is she caring for baby Jay, but it's also you're caring for these, for her case, it's like younger parents, you know, they're really young and they're just babies themselves, you know?
Yeah.
And so you're just trying to, not to say all the all the bio parents are just young, but you're just trying to help everybody, making sure that they don't feel attacked. Like I'm not the one who detained your kids. Like it's very hard for them to separate that you're not the bad guy, you know? So.
Yeah. And remember, we took in baby J when we thought he would get reunified, right? So we were just, I mean, I know it's changed the trajectory, not projectory. Trajectory has changed now, but man, that first year was brutal emotionally. Like I would just call Linda to like just vent and cry real quick, and then like just keep on going. So just know we took the risk, and maybe it seems I feel more easygoing now, but we took the risk knowing and feeling he was gonna get reunified, and so we were just gonna do it no matter what. Okay,
Yeah,
we're just
it's a lot of
talking, so
anxiety,
unless
not knowing. Yeah, you guys can leave if you want, or if you have any more questions, feel free.
I'm not a
We're on
TV
a
show,
roll. We
please.
can literally talk about this for hours, and that's why John Lee, thanks for sending us our long Zoom invite, so we can be here till the sun is already down. But thank you guys for joining, and you guys, thank you for the support. And if you ever want to chat with us, you can email, text. I don't know. I might be calling you guys for support because Alyssa and I had a chat and we're making sure that our certification doesn't expire. So got to do all our trainings again and CPR and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we have another question. If you guys have to go, you're free to log off. Someone said, thank you, that was helpful. You're welcome, Huang family.
They left. Oh wait, no, they're still here. Never mind.
No, right there.
Sorry.
Okay. And thank you, Scott. We shall chat. What other challenges do you face when fostering other than the ones you mentioned? Early trauma, ethnicity, saying bye, just adoption in general, and the kids that don't look like me. My girls actually kind of, I don't know why people are like, Meepo looks just like me. I'm like, Meepo's eyes are like this big. She does not look like me. But I think because we all wear like black and stripes and everyone's like, oh, you guys look alike. But I think for us, the kids not looking like us, it's I think within our group of friends, it's normal. But once we're removed and like we're going to the supermarket or at the park, we get a lot of stares. Most people have been friendly, but I've had people stop me and ask like, where are your mom and dad? I'm like, excuse me, I'm right here. Okay. So little things like that. For us ethnically, we're fostering kids that were quote unquote minority, like people of color, we didn't get stopped as much as when we had our blonde haired, blue eyed little white girl. We would get a lot of stares, comments, questions. And so I felt like very odd dynamics, but that was a big challenge for us is when you don't look like your kids. I guess that's a lot of kids that are adopted and transracial adoptions. Just having our kids understand. And for us, our kids trying to like teach them that, you know, it's not shameful to be adopted because still I think it's a little bit a little taboo to talk about. Like, they're not, don't say they're adopted. Well, they clearly are. They look nothing like me. And so giving them, like, trying to teach them to have the power to be like, look, I'm adopted. Yes, this is my story. It makes me who I am. So trying to teach them that, you know, to be proud and to help. Thankfully, our church families, you know, there's other adopted kids, or there's kids like baby pastores that hopefully my girls can help mentor and teach as they get older. I hope. I really do hope.
I want to add other challenges. Okay. I think challenges can be working with bio parents. I feel like that's been my most stressful roller coaster for me. Just because I have to have so much communication, and so it's literally like up and down every single day. For me, I have to talk to them pretty much every day just to see if they're gonna come see baby J. And then also another one is just communicating to friends and family. They have assumptions of what foster care is. I think everyone does. They have assumptions of what a foster care kid will come like, and are they dangerous or scary, and like, are they gonna kill you with something in the middle of the night? It's just, you have to answer their questions and like retrain like your own friends and family, even if they mean well, they want you to have a safe and well or good family. Like, they think foster care means, like, they can think foster care means dangerous. And so
How many times have you been asked, Alyssa, when are you going to have your own kids? I think I've been asked that 100 times in my lifetime right now, in the last 5 years.
Kills me. Yeah. So I'm just like, I get that question a lot. And so just reframing own, or when are they seeing their real parents? Those are like hurtful, the most hurtful terms probably, that people just, they're well meaning, but they just don't know. So those are some challenges to navigate through.
Yeah, and if you guys hang out with us, you can kind of just hear us use the vocabulary. Like, I'll never just be like, we don't use that word, but I'll probably just be like, you mean their bio parents? Like, we'll correct you very lovingly. But just being friends with other families that have adopted, you could just pick up the lingo and, you know, things that we say and don't say, and, you know, that kind of is helpful. Also, if you work full time, it is a lot, because you have to deal with visits from the county, the social worker, attorneys, advocates, and we worked with agencies, so we had that. And then we have, you know, each kid has like their CASA or their attorney or their blah, 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 their therapist, their OT, their speech. So it can get very overwhelming. So if you work full time, it's not impossible, but you have to be able to like let certain things go. And yeah.
Yeah, if I could show you the like paperwork on the side of my computer, I'm a little bit embarrassed, but the paperwork's about this high. It's all the forms from every time I take him to the doctor or the dentist or school, and there's and a heart treatment and blah 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 blah. So it's just like, it piles up. I have to save it to give to someone, all my receipts and all that stuff. So I cannot wait. I have to like sit down once a month to kind of file everything away, because it's just too much. So
yeah, but once you're adopted, you have none of that. It is so wonderful. You don't have any stranger walking up to your house. Oh,
I didn't know what you meant till I was in it. So I was like, oh, this is what she means. So
yeah, because they have to make sure that
every
kids are alive.
Would you say? Sorry.
Yeah, every injury, every medicine you give them, you have to log, because they're considered wards of the state. So you have to make sure that you have paperwork to like support why you gave them lip balm or sunblock or whatever. But I would say, go ahead.
No, one time baby Jay fell off a stroller and hit his face on the pavement, and I was like, oh, gotta log this, gotta tell everyone, gotta take pictures, send it in. Dang it, this is a big mark. So
yeah, like every injury you have to take a picture of, just so they know that you didn't give the injury. And yeah, so you just have to be aware that there's going to be a lot of visits. Like if you work with an agency, they have to see the kid every other week, and then the county has to see every other week, just to make sure the kids are alive. And if they're older, they interview the kids, like, what have you been up to? So you just have a lot of people in your house, a lot. But I don't know how it is with COVID, so.
They still come, Linda. They still come. We're just wearing masks, and we're outside or we're inside. They still do the house checks. They still click my fire or whatever thing, and the whatever.
They come, they check your fire, they check your water temperature, they check your food in your fridge.
Yes, you have to label the food in your fridge, but sometimes they're gracious to me because I don't have every day to label. So
yeah, and I think Neen mentioned too, they work with an agency, the Koinonia that we work with, and they are doing introduction, like intro meetings over Zoom, and you'll get those hours. So if you just let me or Alyssa know, we can just make sure we contact one of our social workers. They have a lot of offices, so it's just the closest office to your home, and then they can, you know, and like Nina said, they'll come and say, okay, you can't keep your, for her was like garden tools here, you have to lock them up, and then your cleaning supplies have to be, they kind of just like guide you. So they can help you through that. And some of you guys are like, I don't know if you guys were here when I was mentioning, oh, I'm single, I live with other people. You can foster, you just have to have everyone in your house fingerprinted.
Yes, we
Which
have a
isn't-
roommate, and we just had him get fingerprinted.
Oh
And
yeah,
they
your
did,
son, I forgot.
yes, our newly engaged son. So we just had him fingerprinted. They interviewed him and all that. So every once in a while, we have to tell him like, "Oh, please clean up your room. They're gonna check it out," and that's it. So
Yeah, and she mentioned there's a lot to change. You have to lock up a lot of stuff. Like, yes, your cleaning supplies have to be locked up. And my best friend, who shouldn't be on, is on and saying she loves
get out
us.
of here.
So, yeah. But we're here for you guys if you guys want to chat more. You know, we love foster care and we love the kids and we want the best for them. We can't save all of them, but hopefully we can help a few.
Okay.
Any other questions? You're welcome, Catherine.
Yay. Bye.
Yeah, please. If you don't have any other questions, we'll see you soon.
We're just gonna be the last people here just talking.
Yeah, I know. Like, hey, why are you on still? Get out of here. Like, there's friends that have already done like trainings and stuff, like, don't need to be on. Please, come on, just call us. You're
I
fine.
want to see the girls.
Oh,
Oh, you know, they're all in bed. It's, you know, us, we're so routine. They are like knocked out by now.
Oh man.
But I heard them screaming.
okay, thank you.
So they're not.
No, that's John. That was our nighttime routine. John tickles them to death and they scream and then,
He used to
And then-
dance with them, give them a twirl.
yeah.
Oh, what agency do we? We use one called Koinonia.
Yeah, it's called Koinonia
We'll
Family
email it out to
Services.
everyone so they have like a
Yes. B. Barris. I'm like, is that your real name? Yeah, I'll email you a few resources. You are never late to the party.
Don't worry.
Glad
You can
you
ask
picked me up.
questions again.
Oh, there you are. Hi.
Sorry.
Thank you.
No
Thank you.
worries. No worries. Well, we'll send you the. Can I ask who introduced you to our little Q&A?
So we're friends with PJ and
Oh, okay.
John and Grace and Caroline.
I preached at Bethany a few weeks ago.
Yes.
Oh, okay,
and this
yeah.
is like-
Maybe because you don't have the mask on. Is that it?
And I think we heard about it through Alex Hong, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
yeah.
asked Alex to post it too for me.
Yeah, that's where we saw it. So thanks for doing this. It's super helpful.
We literally were just starting to think through it. And my sister works for Olive Crest. So is Olive Crest
Oh yeah.
to Koinonia?
Yes.
No. I mean, they're what? They're related?
Well,
Oh, similar? Yes.
okay. So they're both placement agencies.
Correct.
Okay.
Olive Crest is bigger and I feel like they have a lot of resources. And so that's actually how we met our girls, through Olive Crest. They held like a meet and greet and like a showcase of all these kids that needed homes. But we work with a smaller agency called Koinonia, which is also like a faith-based, and you know, they do the same thing, provide resources, support you, train you, and yeah, they're both great.
That's
And you
awesome.
can work with multiple agencies simultaneously.
No, they won't let you do that. You probably only have to choose one, or you can go straight to the county. So if you go straight to the county, that's fine too. If
Oh, yeah, we
you
didn't
have
mention
one,
that.
yeah, I forgot to mention that. Oops.
Yeah.
You can go straight to the county too. But it's just, if you're working full time, to have an agency support you it's the way to go. My husband and I both work full time, so does Alyssa and her husband. So we just needed an agency to kind of support us through that.
That's super helpful.
Thank
you for
Thank
doing
you,
this.
ladies.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Thank you
Super
for
helpful.
joining. If there's nothing else, how much is full? Okay. Listen, you are a great student.
Let's
That's
do
my
it.
niece's name. I love the name.
How much info is in the child's folder? You could share your
Oh,
folder.
thanks, John. I see it from John. So for us, it was name, gender, which I'm glad you asked that question. I kind of felt like the group was too big to share, but a lot of times when they call and they share in a folder, they share like information on their worst day, because the county wants to be very open about what you're like saying yes to. So they will list like all their behavior issues, all their medical issues. But I always say, you guys always have to take it with a grain of salt. They try to name everything so that people say yes with like a knowing what's to come. So they will list, you know, like all these crazy behaviors. And I know it scares some people, but like I always say to Alyssa too, they were written or, you know, jotted down. Say like on your worst day, you're acting crazy on like the most stressed out day you had in your life. They'll not note all of that and then share that with the foster family. So for us too, they made our kids look like such scary kids. Like if you know my kids, they're very not like that. But in their profile, we were terrified. Seriously, we were terrified that they would be nightmares. They're great kids, but the county just has to list everything because they don't want kids to be displaced, meaning you change your mind. Like, I can't handle it. So they try to be very open with it, you know.
Yeah, and then when they would call me, they would just say like literally age, gender, this is the situation vaguely that they're coming out of. Are you ready to go? That's really it. And you're just like, yeah, well, yeah. We pretty much said yes to all of them, but the placements just didn't come to us earlier on.
Yeah, so you can say yes and not, they don't end up bringing them because another family probably said yes, maybe like they think, oh, they're closer, I'll just place them there. It's easier for us to do visits. There's a lot of factors that they'll consider. But yeah, but like for us, we met our girls in their folder. So they had a lot more information because they were in foster care for 2 years up at that point. But for other kids that we've took in early in just the foster care, they don't know much information. They're going in blind too and just trying to gather as much information as they can. So they'll try to give as much as they can, and then you have the freedom to say yes or no. And at first it was really hard for us to say no because the guilt, but there's certain things that I just knew I couldn't handle, you know, like certain physical disabilities, mental disabilities, or like for us specifically, it was like there were cases with like over-sexualized behavior and they can't be alone with other kids. And I have young nieces that I would watch a lot. And so I'm like, no, I can't take that. And so they allow you to say yes or no with all that information.
Yeah, you can ask questions. So if you need to ask as many questions, and they can try their best to answer or get back to you.
All right. Poor John's like, I'm so sleepy. I want to go.
I don't need to be here for you guys to keep going. I'm just enjoying.
Oh, that's true. Right. Alyssa's host. You're right. You're right. Do you have any other questions?
I've been very sweaty throughout this whole thing. I think my whole inside is very wet, so I can't wait to take I'm a sweaty person, so.
Okay now. Okay
Yeah,
now.
I know. I just get nervous, so.
I don't know if you feel like it's safe because there's only a few of us left, but this is recorded. So I just think, I wonder how many people are hearing that comment. Like, oh, let's post it on our BBC website. Like, that was a great conversation.
I don't mind. I've said worse on the podcast, I'm sure, so.
Right. Well, if there's no other questions.
Linda, you gotta
Thanks
say
for joining.
Please leave. You gotta leave. Church family. There's nothing else. There's nothing else.
You're welcome.
You know,
This is
Melanie,
crazy.
We just like hanging out.
What'd you say?
We just like hanging out.
Thanks for joining us, Madison. I don't know how you heard about our Q&A, but I'm glad you joined. Thank you for your thoughtful questions.
Yes.
Oh, hi. You didn't have to turn your camera on. I'm sorry. I just wanted to say thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. I just thought maybe it'd be a little weird. You don't know who you're talking to.
How did you hear about our Q&A?
I saw Hannah post it on her Instagram, and then so I contacted Alyssa.
Okay. Oh, also, oh, you know each other. Okay. Okay. Thanks for joining.
Thank you so much. That was helpful.
Of course.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, Alyssa, you can start recording now because it's all our friends now.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks. Thanks, guys. The viewing party.
You
See you
click
guys soon.
pause and stop. It's stop, right?
Ross, is that the
Even-
inside of your apartment?